Do you want to know how you can close the sale in just one phone call? Then this episode of the Salesman Podcast is for you. Hello, Sales Nation, and welcome to today's episode of the Salesman Podcast. And on today's show, we have Kayvon. On this episode, we're diving into closing on the phone. We're diving into the language that we should be using. We're diving into the positioning that you need to have before you get on the phone if you want to do a one-call close, the trust building, and a whole lot more. Find out more about Kayvon over at kayvon.com, which is Kayvon.com. Everything else we talk about is available in the show notes of this episode over at salesmanpodcast.com. And with all that said, let's jump in to today's show. Kayvon, welcome to the Salesman Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad to have you on, sir. We're going to talk about closing over the phone. This is going to have a real practical impact for a lot of the audience here who are listening, who are both kind of in your realm of coaching and people selling high-ticket items, but this will also translate, I'm sure, to the world of B2B, where more deals are obviously being done over the phone versus in person, which is my world and kind of my background in sales. But before we jump into any, the practical steps, the tactics, the psychology of pain points and all this good stuff, when should we close on the phone? Is this every phone call we should be asking for the business? Should we be strategically having a series of phone calls and only closing on the final one? How do we know when? It seems like a crazy question to ask. It's a crazy simple question to ask. But how do we know when we should be trying to close the deal?
So that's a good question. I guess every salesperson knows is you should always be closing, right? It's just one of those things and a lot of people, let me address this. A lot of people confuse sales and closing. Those are two very distinctive things. Sales is telling your prospect about your features, about the benefits, telling them what they're going to get. That's the whole sales process. You see, this whole world is filled with salespeople. In fact, there's billions of salespeople. Very few of them know how to close. And the closer can get to what we call this critical exchange point. And that is when we get to the point where now we're actually exchanging the service. You've given me something of value, and thus I give you something of value. And that is where I come in. I spent 19 years in sales, and I realized that now I want to spend the next 40 years as a closer. Because I'll tell you this, there are many people out there that they have ideas, they have concepts, they have dreams, right? And somewhere along the way, they neglected to be able to close the market, close the prospect, close the world on that idea or that concept. And then someone else comes by and picks up that very same idea or that very same concept, but can close it to the market, get the market to buy it. Now the question is, who gets paid? The salesperson or the closer?
It's almost to a point, as you say this, yeah, of course, the closer, but it's almost that selling is commoditized in that anyone can read from a product specification list. But well, let's go super deep, like instantly into this of what is the difference between a closer and a salesperson from, what's the difference in mindset between a closer and a salesperson in that?
The mindset is simply the closer is going to ask for the deal all the time. The closer is going to know that when they're speaking to that prospect, they're going to get that prospect to buy whatever the product or the service. Now, I don't want to veer away from the very first question. You say, when do you know when to close in the process? Now, if you're a really good salesperson, you know exactly when, and that's basically all the time. So for me, the way that I set it up for why the media calls me the one-call closer, I don't speak to the prospect until I know they're fully qualified and they know about the features and the benefits. If I'm on the phone with them and I'm selling them, AKA, oh, this is what you're going to get, here's how this is going to help you, I haven't done my job properly. What I do is I help the coaches, consultants, online service providers, and if they create what I call a very good, effective sales funnel, by the time they get to me as the closer, they're not asking me what they're going to get. The prospect already knows what they're going to get. So every time I get on the phone, it's a close. It's me getting them into I take them through a journey with finesse. And the journey has the ups and it has their downs. And the whole point of this journey is to open up the prospect. Because I sell 10,000 plus products or services. And to ask someone to give me $10,000 over the phone, it's not traditional sales. Traditional sales techniques do not work. I have the one-call closer system that I have developed 19 years with mentors, with professionals, experts. And we created this thing together where it allows people to go what I would call, again, on this journey, and allows for them to make a decision outside their subconscious. Because subconsciously, nobody wants to drop $10,000. But they know in order to do that, they're going to get to where they want to go. So it's up to me to show the pain they're in. I bridge the gap to where they're not, to where they want to be. And then I show them how I can be that advocate, how this product, this service can show them to go from where they are to where they want to be.
So are you lining them up here via email marketing and things like that before you get them on the phone, and then you phone them once and have one call, and that's what secures the transaction?
Absolutely. So they go through a sales funnel, whether that's a webinar, whether that's a podcast, whether that's a video, whatever that might be. Then they go through what I call is that sales funnel and the doctoration process, where they now become, they pick a part of that sales funnel. They know who we are. They know what they want. They apply for a call. So an application call. So now they're ready. I'll tell you this, and it doesn't matter what you're selling, but if you're doing any type of phone sales, when you call your prospect, you're a salesperson. But when they call you, you become an expert. So you need to position yourself as the expert. You got to position yourself as the person that they're calling you because they want to work with you. Because that 1 hour that they booked with you, they know how important it is. If they don't show up, I do not reach out to them. I do not chase people. I do not go after people. We call it fence sitting. Fence sitting is that, oh, let me think about it, or I got to talk to my wife. I don't do that. That doesn't serve you. That doesn't serve me. And the most important thing, it doesn't serve the customer or the prospect to their dream when they're fence sitting. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
So I make it very clear that this is an hour convo, or 45 or 30, depending on the transaction. And I make it very clear how important it is. You are going to call me because when I pick up that phone, I'm now that expert.
It makes total sense, and all the psychology of it here, Kayvon. I'm just intrigued because I'm trying to translate this slightly to the B2B world as well. Because I do loads of email marketing, and they've been in this podcast where people are listening to it. They'll have had a call to action to go to our email list. We give them a daily email that has comics. It's basically a daily sales magazine. It's awesome. But that is subtly indoctrinating people into my history, my background, what the podcast can do for them long term. And there's no advertising messages in there right now, but there may be at some point in the future as the list grows. I think it's about 70,000 people on there at the moment. So I regularly get offers for, to commercialize it and to profit from that list. But so far I've held off. So I'm just intrigued here of, do you proactively qualify out people that want to speak to you on the phone and build a relationship with you on the phone versus through videos, podcasts, emails and things like that? Do you split the potential market that you've got of, because clearly some people want to reach out, be on the phone before you have a couple of calls. Do you not want to deal with them? You want to phrase it perhaps better. You want to have to go with the low hanging fruit, which can be scaled through things like internet marketing.
Yeah, so I think I'm trying to clearly understand the question, but if the question is what I'm understanding is the potential customers, right? So it would be my customer's customer is going to go through what we call as that sales funnel. And in that sales funnel is when we get them to drop like flies, because we're very clear. Who is it? See, a lot of people are not clear with who they even are and who their market is. I only work with a select few of people on a yearly basis to build out their coaching or their service or whatever that is they're doing, because because I only work with people who know exactly who they are, they're proven in their market. For me, the number one thing is that service or that product that they are trying to sell actually, and let me say this again, actually serves a purpose and can change someone's life or can add value to someone's life. So as we go through that process, I'm very clear with them that it has to be, here's who this is for, here's who this is not for. It's okay if this is not for you. No harm, no foul. Don't book an application call, because I'm going to ask 2 or 3 questions right out of the gate, and I'm going to know exactly if they're qualified or not. And if I don't think they're qualified, I'm not going to try to sell them. See, in sales, when we when I grew up, I should say, I've been doing this for 19 years. So I started when I was 13, and it was just, and I truly believe this as a junior salesperson, you pick up that phone, you dial for dollars. You got to learn those fundamentals. You definitely got to go through that pain. You got to pick up anyone and everyone who's willing to listen, because that's going to develop all the skills you need. So when you get to my level, at the level that I'm at, you can drop going after the low hanging fruit. So one of my mentors said this, and it literally not opened my eyes and my mind, but it changed the complete scope of my business. Now, your audience doesn't know me well, and you don't know me that well. So I don't want this to come off as arrogant or cocky, but it's just, I'm going to try to say it the nicest way. I was trying to help the low-hanging fruit. I was trying to help the average people go from average to above average, right? So I was trying to help the 80% of the people try to get into the top 20%. And I realized that is a long journey, and that is a painful journey. And my mentor said, leave that up to Tony Robbins. That's what Tony Robbins do. You need to help winners win more. And that's who I deal with, are the ones that are already winning. They just need that slight edge. They need to learn more because they understand the value of what it is to learn more knowledge, to gain more, to have coaching, to have leadership, to have mentorship, whatever the product or service is. So when I pivoted my business to work with the top people, well, guess who works with the top people? The top prospects. So chances are, if you're in an industry, I always say this, if you're in an industry where you're not really happy or your prospect sucks, well, the reality is this, is your prospect, your customer is just a direct reflection of who you are as a salesperson, as a business owner, as a coach, as a service provider. So if you don't like your customers, you got to change what you're doing.
Love it. Okay, let's imagine now we've got a pre-qualified customer. They've hit all the boxes you've just outlined there, Kayvon. We get them on the phone. We know from kind of conversation so far, we should always be closing them because they've raised their hand. We've pre-qualified them that they've got cash, they've got motive. We are happy with them. They've applied to us. We've gone through the spreadsheet and we've chosen them and we've given them our time, for want of a better way to kind of describe it. What does that phone call look like? And how does, I'm trying to edge the way to the real juicy bit, which is me asking you the question, how do you close the deal? But what does that phone call look like? Does it have a certain structure? Are you trying to still do discovery? How does it look?
There is a full structure. And I'll tell you a little bit of the structure, but if you want to get the exact structure I use, you can actually go to my website and download it. I have a free PDF on the exact sales script that I've used to close thousands and thousands of dollars. And in fact, other coaches have used to close millions of dollars. So you can have access to that. But just to tell you a little bit of that structure is the first and foremost is we get them on the phone, right? And it's not, here's what I have to tell you. It's not always about what you're saying or how you're saying it. It's about your tonality. It's about asking the right questions. In what my philosophy is, you'll see a lot of salespeople, they talk. Well, I have seen numerous amount of salespeople talk their way out of the close. Even after they got the close and the customer says yes, I've seen them talk themselves out of the close. It's mind-boggling. So what I do is it's very different, my methodology. It's very different. I don't act interested. I use a very low tone. Why me? Why do you think I'm the one that's going to help you? So the process is, first, we qualify them. So right now, for example, I'm selling a $20,000 4-day event. First question I ask is, are you able to travel? Right? Because a lot of prospects, they lie on the application. Are you willing and are you able to travel? Okay, good. And are you willing to travel on these dates? So before we move forward, there's nothing I need to know about that you're not going to be able to make a commitment today. No. Okay. Then we go into the lead, what we call not the lead, more of the understanding of why they're on the phone. So why did you take the time out of your day? What's going on in your life that is so important that you want to speak to me now? Because we know that there's tons of people out there selling whatever they're selling. Why me? Right? Here's what's happening there. They're already selling themselves on you. on why the product works. You don't have to sell the feature or the benefits. They sell that, right? Does it make sense? I'm going to go really deep here. I'm going to give you something. I ask 2 to 3 questions, and I know right away where they are on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 meaning they're not going to buy their fence sitting, or 10 they're going to buy, it's high probability. If they're anywhere between a 1 to a 5, I use reverse psychology. So I say things like, well, it seems like you're doing good already, or you're doing well. What's the matter with that? I'm sure things are going to get better. I'm sure word of mouth works for you. Why is this so urgent? Things are going smooth. Oh, wow. You made $3,000 last month. That's pretty good, no? Then you get them opening up. Because if a customer is closed, if they're restricted, you'll never be able to open them up. And if you can't open the customer up, you'll never be able to make a sale. Now, I want to make this very clear. If you're selling $1,000, a $1,500, even maybe a $2,000 product, you can just do typical sales techniques, traditional stuff, all the closes, the Ben Franklin close, the right now, all that. You can use that. But when you're asking someone to separate from $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, it's complete different psychology. You actually have to tap in to their subconscious, because they got fears, they have anxieties, they have things that are holding them back. And unless we can address that to their subconscious, they'll never be able to let go of a $20,000 investment, even though they know it can change their life and they know it's right for them. That fear, that little voice that pops up in the back of their head is going to tell them to say no. So it's my job as a closer to talk to that voice that pops up, to talk to that fear, and show the prospect that that same voice, that same fear is the same thing that holds them back time again after time again. So the process goes, I'm going with them. When they get to that 5, 6 level, I then start asking the questions. What are you looking to make? How is this going to help you? Even if you were to move forward, what would this do for your life? How would this change? Then we go what we call future pacing. Some people call it talking about the dreamland. I call it my philosophy. I take them to the mountaintop, and then I show them the promised land. And I say to them, if we were a year out from now, or if you were to come to this event, what would happen, or what would be the result of you coming here to learn how to X so you can get X, right? So pain, right, to the gain, pain to the promised land. And then I bridge that gap right away. And once they tell me I get them dreaming, right? Because everyone has a dream, even though they don't even, and it's very, as a professional sales closer, what I am, I can see right away who has dreams, which ones don't, are scared. I speak to prospects and they are scared to even dream. Those are the ones that need your product or service the most. But those are the ones that are going to be the hardest to close. But I love that, because to me, it's a challenge, because not only do I get them through something that's holding them back, I, as the closer, get to provide them an opportunity for them to be better individuals, better parents, better business people, whatever that is.
How do you, let me ask you this, because there's a lot going on here, and you covered a lot of ground very quickly. How do you walk the line here between pushing someone where they don't want to go? And I'm not saying you do this, clearly. I wouldn't have you on the show if I had any kind of hesitation or doubt in my mind on that front. But I'm pretty sure you could, and I know I can. I can push people to places I want them to go, but immediately, and I've done this in medical device sales. I've sold equipment and immediately had people on the phone with buyer's remorse, essentially wondering why they've bought it. How do you walk this line between, and this is probably a deeper conversation than just sales, but how do you know whether you're doing something that's best for the person? Because from your perspective, it is the best thing for the person, versus whether it is the right thing for them to be doing, if that makes sense.
I love it. So you're asking, where do you draw the line where you become pushy versus them taking their own first step? It is absolutely very important. As a closer, you do not push your prospect. You get them you get them through the journey by this very one specific thing. I'm going to actually leave you with this, okay? Real closing is 80% is listening, 20% is talking. It's not talk. It's quite opposite. That 20% of what you're talking, you're asking questions. You're only asking questions. Those questions lead them to the end sale. Those questions lead the prospect thanking you at the end of the conversation. So when I'm finished with a prospect and they have committed and they've now given me my credit card, I don't say thank you. You never say thank you. You don't thank them for giving you your money. You congratulate them. You say welcome. Congratulations. I look forward to working with you. If the close is done right, the prospect is thanking you. Kayvon, thanks so much. I'm so excited. This is going to be the best thing ever. And all you simply say is, congratulations. We look forward to working with you. Then when they get into the program, you can be yourself. But on that journey, you can't get excited. You can't use traditional sales. You can't act like a traditional salesperson. Don't get excited. Don't talk too fast. I can do this right now because I'm not selling anyone. And I'm showing you my personality. And I'm a very high energetic person. But when I'm on that sales call, and when I'm on that closing call, you better believe it's a complete different tonality, energy. It's very low. The sales process should not, let me clearly say this. The sales process should not be a pleasant experience for the prospect. That's high ticket selling. They should go through a pain. They should feel the pain. You can't create a pain, you'll never get a sale. Again, high ticket we're talking here. We're not talking 2,000 below, we're talking 2,000 above, okay?
Is the pain to go after always more effective and powerful than going after their dreams, as in future pacing them? Or clearly it's a combination of the two, but if you had to use one, is it more important if you're future pacing them to say, hey, if you don't do this, this is the shit storm you're going to be walking into, versus if you do this, this is the lovely paradise beach that you're going to be living on in 5 years' time?
The prospect will never make a decision unless there's a pain, unless they're highly motivated. So you can be the best salesperson, but if you don't have a qualified prospect, you'll never sell. Or the opposite is, you can have a highly qualified prospect, but if you're not good enough to make that close or to offer them a service, you'll never make a sale. The prospect needs to have a pain, a motivation. They got to be excited. And the way you can get them excited is one very powerful technique I use, which is what we call redirection questions. You can look that up. They're called redirection questions. This is what helps you as a closer to maintain control of the conversation. If you lose control here, doesn't matter if you're on the phone, if you're in person. I used to do pharmaceutical sales. I was the #1 sales rep across the country for the largest pharmaceutical company. I was in-person sales. I've done phone sales. I've done it all. No matter what, you lose the conversation or you lose control of the conversation, you lose the conversation, you lose the sale, you lose the close. Always maintain control. And the way to do that is by asking redirect questions. So when a customer, if you find yourself where the customer is asking you questions, you've lost control. Say goodbye to the sale. It's not you. Some people can crawl back, but it's a painful process.
Give us an example of this then. Give us a quick example of a redirect question, and I'll link to perhaps some more resources in the show notes of this episode as well.
Okay, so ask me what kind of guarantee I have.
What kind of guarantee do you have?
Well, Will, what kind of guarantee are you looking for?
It sounds like a politician question answer as opposed to a redirect or anything else.
It's a redirect, right? You're redirecting the question back. And another one could be if they say, if they say something about the color of their widget or the color or whatever it is, something about the product, you can easily say, well, why is it so important to you? Why is the color so important to you anyways? Now you get into an emotional state. The prospect needs to get in an emotional state. So let me break this up. There are 3 levels of pain. There's a surface pain, there's a financial pain, and there's a personal pain. You will never sell a high ticket item on a surface pain. So a surface pain is my Facebook ads aren't working and I need help. Or I lost my salesperson, I need to find it, or whatever that surface level crap is. You'll never sell on that. Financial pain, you can sell, but it's tricky. And that is, I don't have enough money, or it's too expensive, whatever that is. So let me help you so you can get more financial, But if you really want to get to that third level, that subconscious level, that's that personal pain. So let me break it down to you. I'm a business owner and my Facebook ads aren't working. As a result of that, I'm losing a lot of money. But what's that personal pain? I'm losing confidence as a business owner. My wife's about to leave me because she's sick and tired of me telling her that it's going to happen, right? I might lose my business, and as a result of losing my business, I don't even know who I'm going to be. I'm going to let my kids down. I can't take care of the family. My dreams are running away from me. That is the personal pain. You get a customer to there, you can easily then, what you said, show them the promised land, which is very important because you got to show them what they're going to get as a result of your product or your service. And then you bridge the gap. So at the end, I bridge the gap very, very, very simply. Exactly what are the results you're looking for? And specifically, what have you done in the past so that you can get these results? And just out of curiosity, precisely what were you hoping to get from me today? And then you go into the close. And the close is asking now. Now you want the money. And remember, everything we've done so far is called the sales process. The close is now when you ask for the offer. Are you wanting to move forward? So we go into that by asking them. Do you, Mr. Customer, have a specific budget set aside for someone or someone like me or someone else to show you how to go from your pain, right, the pain, to the dream or to that dollar amount? Never, high ticket selling, you never ever give information unless you deemed a profitable reason for doing so. So never talk about your product, what the cost is, unless you deemed a profitable reason, meaning you know that they're going to buy. You're convinced that the customer is at an 8 to 10, and you never give the price first. You let them give you the price. Do you have a budget set aside? No? Okay. Well, would you be comfortable spending, I don't know, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 for someone to show you how to make $200,000? You can always get it out of them. If you can't, then you just simply say, the investment today is X dollars. Boom. And we know this. Silence. Sales 101. Never, ever speak after you give the price. Ever. I've waited 2 minutes. And 2 minutes is a long time. A long time. Waited, and I'm sitting there, and then they go, okay. Because if they say no, boom, you're in your what we call objection handling. Right? And the only reason why you would get an objection is because you haven't done your job in the sales process. You haven't given them enough value, or they can't find the value versus the price. And you got to understand what it is. So what do I say? I said, now listen, if Will can show you exactly how to be the next best podcaster, and you have a chance to be in front of millions of people on a weekly basis, is it really a question of the value, or is it a question of the money? Which one is it? You're a smart business owner. You're intelligent. Really, which one is it?
I'm intrigued here. I'm being conscious not to kind of like proactively call you out, but how often do you get someone turn around and say, if you asked like a powerful like C-suite executive who could be doing business as you're describing here, or could be doing it in the B2B world, that everyone's happy, everyone's in agreement. You just need this one dude to sign off on things. How often do you, or let me, I don't, try not to put you on the spot, but how often asking these questions would someone get pushback from it? And clearly pushback can be both a positive and negative thing, because it's usually an objection.
By asking the questions,
but
right?
By asking tough questions, because these are not, as you kind of alluded to at the beginning, you're not making this easy for the person. You're putting them under stress. You're bringing out the emotions. They're probably getting a bit of a sweat on as they're going through this. I'm intrigued as to how much pushback you get. And again, this is both positive and negative. It can be spun either way. How much pushback do you get, and how much pushback do you want?
I have to be honest with you, very, very, I would say less than 1% of the time do I get a customer go, why are you asking me this question? Because right away, if they do, you don't get defensive. The moment you get defensive, you've lost them. Yeah. You just openly say, I understand that these questions might be personal, but in order for me to serve you best and for me to know how I can do that, I need to ask you some of these questions. Now, are you open to moving forward? They say no, no problem. You never, ever, ever. Here is something, salespeople, please listen to this. Whether you're on the phone, whether you're doing a deal on one-on-one, you never let the prospect hang up on you. You never let the prospect say no. If you want to be the number one closer, the number one salesperson in your industry, you need to show credibility and you need to show that you have the power. And by doing that is literally we're not talking about takeaway close. I'm not a big fan of the whole takeaway close. I think the customer is very smart these days and they know what that is. I'm talking about if you're not willing to be open up, how are we ever going to be able to help you move forward in your life? Because this isn't about just a product. The product is just the tip of the iceberg. The real transformation happens when we change what's happening on the inside. Because let me tell you, Mr. Prospect, everything you're getting is a result of what's happening on the inside. So if you don't like what's going on the outside, we need to start looking deep in the inside, right? And if you're not willing to do that, then this is probably not for you. Thank you, hang up. That's it. People are always like, I have to make a sale. No, you don't. No, never sell somebody who's not going to be able to go through the program because you look like a jack-off or a jackass, for selling them that. And I never sell anyone anything. I don't sell anyone's product unless I fully believe in it. And here's the three things I ask myself. First one, would I buy the product myself? Yes or no? Second, would I charge double or triple for that product and still feel comfortable charging that knowing it will change someone's life? And number three, would I sell it to my best friends and my mother? And if those answers are yes, then you know you have a product that you should be selling. If you can't answer yes to any of those, you're selling the wrong product. You don't believe in it. And what's the number one fundamental rule of sales? I don't need to talk about that here. We know what that is. If you don't believe in the product, your customer will never believe in it, no matter what. If you don't like what you're selling, if you hate what you're selling, get out, find something you love. If you really want to be successful, and I'm not talking about successful just in money, I'm talking about successful internally too. Going home at the end of the day and knowing that you're leaving a legacy, you're leaving an impact, and you're actually part of something, part of a community, part of something that's going to be bigger than you. To me, it's always bigger than me. This, speaking to you, I really believe it's bigger than us. I really do. There's someone out there listening right now that's going to take one of these ideas and it's going to change their life. And I know I've done my job.
Love it. Well, with that, Kayvon, I want to wrap up the show there's one question I ask everyone, which we'll come on to in a second, but there's one final piece of the puzzle here, which I'm intrigued to, of when you've got the okay, they say, yep, I'm on board, I love it, love this conversation, love everything you're doing, I'm loving the results that are going to be coming to me. Do you get people's credit card there and then on the phone? Do you send them a kind of form to put the details in online? How do you go about, finalizing the sale?
100%. Let me make this very clear because a lot of salespeople are, it's uncomfortable. No, I ask for the credit card because you're not asking for a credit card. You're asking for a commitment, and you're not asking for a commitment to you. You're asking them for a commitment to their dream. So are you ready to commit? And are you willing to move forward? Yes. What card would you like to put this commitment on? Is it a Visa, MasterCard? I always get it because then we talk. Before we go, I'm going to give you a trick. This works really well because even if you do a great sales process, you alluded to earlier, people wake up and they have buyer's remorse. They say, oh my God, what am I going to do? And that's just fear. That's all that is fear coming in. Is that little head that's been holding them back. So you eliminate all that stuff right away. So once I get the credit card, I put it through. I say to them, now, before I press enter, Mr. Customer, you're not going to wake up tomorrow and call me and say you got to change the plans. Or you want to think about it. Because if you're going to do that, let's address this right now. And 9 out of 10 times, guess what they say? No, never. Okay, perfect. Boom. Enter. No, thank you. Congratulations. My assistant will send you over the documents you need to sign. Please get that back to me in the next 24 hours. Again, get them to say it. When will you be getting that back to me? In the next 24 hours? You're committed to that? Okay. Boom, done. And guess what? Even when they wake up the next morning and they go, oh my God, what am I going to do? They ain't calling you. They are not going to call you because they committed to you the day before that they won't do that very same thing.
It is. It's an interesting phenomenon and a powerful one of when someone says something, they're so concerned about looking stupid for going back on what they've said that they'll commit to it. And that fascinates me. And there's probably a whole conversation in itself with that, Kayvon. So with that, mate, I've got one final question to ask everyone that comes on the show. And that is, if you could go back in time and speak to your younger self, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give him to help him become better at selling?
I always get that. And the one piece of advice I would say, and it's probably the most powerful, is don't give a shit what other people think. Don't give a shit and go after your dream. Go after what you want and be smart about it. But don't worry about what they think. Because the same people that are judging you are going to be the ones that are feeding off your hands if you go through life the right way.
I just want to touch on this a bit further because this is something I, not too long ago, had instilled into me via a mentor. How did you come up with this? When did you come up with this? And was it a light bulb, kind of Tony Robbins decision in an instant, but takes forever to come up with the decision moment? Or was it a gradual kind of like pacing over time?
Taken back, at grade 1, I was labeled with ADD, ADHD, LD. Plus, I was an immigrant child in a very small, white community. They said I was never going to pass elementary school. By the time I was in university, which they said I would never get to, I got to. They said that if I was smart, I would leave university and go work at a factory because I was not good for college and nobody would employ me. All right? I listened. 19, 20 years of this, you believe, you start to think that it's true. So through that, I had my sales career. I ended up getting into a sales position and ended up working myself up to being the #1 sales rep in the largest pharmaceutical company. So here I am, right? Living a dream I never thought was even possible, but yet I knew I was doing that for other people. I was doing that to prove to other people. All those people that judged me, that said I couldn't do it, I was doing it for them. I was so unhappy because I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, which was entrepreneurship, my own thing. It was in that decision. So there was a lot of series, but you're saying it was in that decision where I knew that if I were to continue one more day, I knew if I was going to go to work one more day, I was going to be that person who ends up at 40, 50, wondering what happened to them. Soul is gone, their dreams are gone, everything dies. And I was not going to let that happen. Not on my watch and not on that day. I quit. Completely quit. I said, this is it. I've proven to everybody what I can do. Now it's time to prove myself what I know I should be doing. And it was a hard journey, very, very hard journey. I mean, when you quit something like that and you have nothing and you go to build it, I made a lot of mistakes. But I'll tell you what I've learned in that process is if you stay true to who you are, if you stay true and congruent to your message, to the market, you will become successful with perseverance, right? Resilience. And it's been the most beautiful journey I've been on, and it's been incredible. And it's because I don't give a shit what people think anymore. I did that for 30 years and it didn't serve me. Now I go do what I do. But remember, that doesn't mean you act rude. You do unlawful things. You act like an asshole. No, I try to be my best version every single day. I ask questions. I listen. I learn. I document. I ask questions. I listen. I learn. I document. I say to myself, how can I be better tomorrow? How can I serve the world better? And I tell you, when you tap into that, it's a beautiful thing. Your relationships get better. Your relationships with your customers get stronger. Your relationship with your wife, or your spouse, or your partner gets better. Your relationship to money gets stronger. Your relationship to whatever spirituality you have becomes more authentic, becomes more real. And people end up coming to you. They just coming to you because you're exuding confidence, which people lack, vision, which people lack, clarity, which people lack, and people want to be part of that. Even though they fight it, they want to be part of that journey.